Gavin Holmes steps out of a tackle across the 50. Gavin Holmes, the 6th-year senior, into the end zone. 73 yards.
Welcome to the Big 1-2 on 365 Sports.
Worthy standing on. He's on 35.
Blocked, swallowed, engulfed, picked up, and it's Robinson. Kalen Robinson, Texas on the board.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
Alongside Roy Ogletree and Jacob Wilson here for the Big 1-2, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby, our fantastic sponsor. And big news, the Hewitt store getting closer. They have electricity. That's been put in, which takes a while to do.
So
that.
whenever they get a toilet, I can move in there, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. They don't have a roof over everything just yet.
That's fine. It hasn't rained here in like decades, so that's whatever.
Yeah, it did yesterday while I was at the
Oh
grocery
yeah, I forgot about literally yesterday.
while I was walking out of the grocery store. So my out of the grocery store experience was kind of like Baylor's experience in Morgantown. How's that for a transition?
Yikes.
How is that for a transition to a relevant topic here on the Big 1-2? I will start in order, but of the games this week, 43-40 was a popular score because it was also the score of TCU's win over Oklahoma State. And they do occupy the screen again this week because as kings of the Big 12 Mountain, that's who we're going to do. We're the biggest
Unbelievable.
story. Yeah, unbelievable. And Texas escapes. Iowa State is so snake-bitten. It's ridiculous. And Kansas has come back down to earth a little bit. Oklahoma is a little bit up off the map, but we'll see how that progresses. Oklahoma's defense is still garbage, and they have a long way to go.
Dumpster fire, garbage water, any of the...
Yeah. Kansas, we'll see what happens this week when they play Baylor and Jaden Daniels. No Jaden Daniels, we'll see, but all those things happening. But recapping last week, starting on Thursday night, Baylor goes into Morgantown in a game that they were completely in control of.
Yep.
And then they weren't. Yes, Blake Shapen got hurt. But if he doesn't fumble, even they were going to score in that drive.
Yeah, I mean they had gotten it down. I think down there with another big pass play to Gavin Holmes at that point. But yeah,
big pass play to Gavin Holmes, and then he just unforced error, fumble by Blake Shapen there.
It looked like he just dropped the ball when he was running, but we look back at the replay. Somebody did hit his hand, but you got to just hold on. Like you have to hold on to the football.
Yeah, you were there in Morgantown.
Who was I
on Thursday night, Royden, and it was disappointing in a lot of regards because this is a team, Baylor, that should not. And I'm not trying to take away from West Virginia. They came up, and they took every opportunity to win that game and did it. They absolutely did it. But Baylor is cursed there, and if Baylor goes in and scores on that drive, West Virginia's not coming back.
I don't know what that's the first. Was that the first drive of the second half, or was that before the end of the first half?
That was before the end of the first half, where
right. So they would have gone into the half up like 24-10.
Yeah.
Not saying that Baylor doesn't, because we'll talk about this, I'm sure, throughout the show. That Baylor doesn't blow it.
30, like that would have been 24-10 at that time. Yes.
Yeah.
But
so we'll talk about this throughout the rest of the show, I'm sure, when it concerns Baylor. Not saying that Baylor wouldn't have blown a lead because they literally cannot tackle. But it does put you in a good position, something that they haven't really had all season outside of, well, especially in the Big 12, is the ability to close out teams.
Yeah.
To just put people away and just make them have to actually make adjustments. Now you go into the half, now you go into the half, and West Virginia has momentum. They have,
and
I don't know. They don't have to make as many adjustments. Now they're playing with their hair on fire.
So they were probably going into score on that drive, which would have made it 24-10 at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, it made it 17-17. Baylor came back and scored a minute and a half later to make it 24-17 going into half.
Right.
So again, you're looking at going into half 31-10, and now it's 24-17. Right out of the half, West Virginia scores, and
then Baylor, like, we're gonna go over this game because it's so mind-numbingly, like, just how did they lose this game? They get the ball, they're past, I believe they're at like the 40-yard line, or at least past the 50-yard line with 30 seconds left, and it's a 4th down call. And this is the one time in Dave Aranda's coaching career, it feels like, that he doesn't go for it. They punt back. Mm-hmm. You at least try to add a field goal there, right?
Yeah.
27-17 going into that. Anyway.
Yeah. So there were so many things that happened, but to me, the game turned on 2 plays. It was the fumble,
blocked extra point,
and the block extra point that was a defensive conversion, which was good thing after a bad thing, or bad thing after a good thing. And a defensive conversion is the definition of a very bad thing after a very good thing, because it takes away you just scored a touchdown, but then gave back 2 points. It's like you only half did it. And I know it's not, but like all the feeling of joy is there.
I believe Amy Paget on Twitter said something to the effect of, my favorite thing about this game, meaning the worst thing about this game, is that every good thing is seemingly followed by a bad thing.
Well, and then you get a huge 4th down stop and then fumble right after that. Baylor ravaged by injuries in this game. Blake Shapen went out. I thought Kyron Jones played pretty well given the circumstances, but
for not having played any significant amount. I mean, look, he played in mop-up duty in several games, but not in any sort of meaningful minutes. Yeah.
But if you take the opportunities given that they had and would have been up 31-10 at halftime, Shapen can go out and Jones can come in and you still win the game. You don't have to put it on him to go win it. And I think that that's the thing that will stick out. And the biggest thing is Baylor is supposed to be dominant along the lines. The offensive line is starting to slowly come back around, but the defensive line is not a strength of this team right now.
No. Defense in general is not a strength of this team.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's not the same team. There's so many people, there's so many holes in the secondary that were definitely lost from last year. It's like, oh, who would have thought that, missing Jalen Petrie is like a big deal, but yeah, it tends to be an actual big deal when you lose several defensive players to the NFL. But the defensive line held their own, I guess, but they're also not getting pressure on the quarterback. A lot of these players are already getting to the second level by the time these guys are having to try and make these tackles. But also on top of that, Al Walcott, Matt Jones, they all have to play better.
Yeah.
They all have to play better.
Yeah.
But again, credit to West Virginia.
We haven't done that yet. Talked about their offense is good. Their
offense is very good. West Virginia to continue and hopefully make a bowl game going forward and cause some disruption, because that's what you're going to do now in the Big 12 is just ruin people's days. West Virginia to continue to do that. Your defense also has to make a lot of changes. Blake Shapen, even before the fumble and even after the fumble when he came, he was having a career day. He was going to throw for like 450 yards. Yeah. They allow Gavin Holmes, a 6-year senior, who is what a bounce back for him, to go for 200 yards. There is some holes to fix. But granted, your run game turned completely around, which had been anemic all season. Mm-hmm. And, JT Daniels made some really big throws. Those wide receivers made some incredible catches over the middle. Still turned the ball over late and gave Baylor a chance to put the game away, and they just didn't. Baylor just didn't take the game, which is frustrating to watch if you're a Baylor fan. But credit to them. They went in there and won when, look, not for nothing, the fan base didn't even think that game was the entire upper deck wasn't even full. The fan base was so out of that game until they got back into it.
I was on 3 different West Virginia podcasts last week, and all of them expressed concern about the attendance of the game. Yeah. Because people have kind of sold on Neil Brown right now. And I don't know if they need to do that necessarily. I think that, let's see what happens down the stretch of this year as this team that's built almost entirely now out of the transfer portal kind of comes together. All right. The most earth-shattering game of the weekend was the TCU Oklahoma State game, which was kind of drab for 3 quarters.
It's a lot of back and forth field goals.
And then all of a sudden it turned into this, again, another instant classic for TCU. And
TCU is doing what Baylor failed to do against Oklahoma State. And I think this says a lot about Oklahoma State as well. Congrats to TCU for finishing the job. Like they let you back into it, and they actually finished what Baylor in previous weeks couldn't accomplish. But the same with the Baylor Oklahoma State game. All of a sudden, Baylor was starting to chip away at that game. Like, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? TCU actually took advantage of them letting them back in that game and won.
Yeah. During the game, there was thought that maybe they let Chandler Morris get a series because Max Duggan had been in kind of a slump. And no, you just let him get up off the mat and he'll do fine. And he did. Led them back. Quentin Johnston is fantastic. He's a beast. Kendry Miller's great.
He's the best player. Sorry, not Kendry Miller, but Quentin Johnston's the best player on the field all game. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been
just bigger, faster, stronger than everybody else. Kind of like how we've been singing Xavier Hutchinson's praises all year. The same amount of praise needs to go to Johnson because he was just absolutely running by guys out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Oklahoma State, Spencer Sanders dinged up. We'll see if he plays against Texas this week. It's going to be interesting. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. That's going to be a game changer if he doesn't against a Texas team.
Yeah, it's going to affect my picks if he doesn't.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the reasons. It's one of the reasons that I made the pick that I did.
Oh, great.
So
read the injury news, folks. You won't be embarrassed on this web show.
Moving on, Oklahoma just jumped out on Kansas in the second quarter. After the first quarter, it's tied 14-14, about what I kind of thought was going to happen in that game. And then the second quarter was just all Oklahoma, and Kansas could never really get back in it. They tried real hard in the fourth quarter, just not enough time to come back. Well,
I said, Jason Bean didn't have a bad game, didn't have the great game that they would have probably needed to have to completely stay in this game. Eventually Kansas's defense was gonna have to do a lot more growing up, and they'd somehow withstood the storm in the previous games. Jason Bean turned the ball over twice, and I said on this that he was going to have to be excellent like he was at the end of that TCU game, and he was good. He threw 4 touchdowns, but also those 2 turnovers really hurt you when you're about to have this shootout that you're about to have. You can't turn it over. And granted, Oklahoma made one of the better interceptions that you'll ever see.
Yeah. Something they don't do a lot. Turn the ball, create turnovers. Last part of this segment right here, Texas beats Iowa State 24-21. Another game that Iowa State has an opportunity to win and doesn't. Xavier Hutchinson, I don't know what he was doing.
He stopped running to jump and
catch a perfect
still could
throw.
Have caught the ball.
Yeah. Just keep running and going. You're going to score the touchdown. Don't know what Quinn Ewers would have done after that. He would have had a little bit of time to get down the field, but Texas is impressive. Texas loses that game last year.
Yeah.
They lose that game last year.
Yeah. Iowa State's defense is fantastic. Obviously, Quinn Ewers was accurate, but only like 170 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Basically, those touchdowns came in the red zone, so he was able to hit some wide open throws because Bijan Robinson was fantastic. But yeah, that game, Iowa State lost that game. I'm not quite sure. Like, this is going to sound bad because Texas had to go and take it from them, obviously, but they wanted to do so much to let Iowa State in that game. And Hunter Decker's throwing another red zone interception is just a backbreaker. But then again, you have Xavier Hutchinson streaking wide open down the field, probably the best wide receiver in the Big 12.
I think the shutout against Oklahoma notwithstanding, Texas's defense they're a lot better. They still have some issues that teams can exploit. We'll see what happens down the line. And again, they've got a big one this week.
Decker still threw for 360 yards.
Yeah, exactly. So this coming up next, we talk about TCU and their staying power, and maybe anybody else in the Big 12 staying power when it comes to the college football playoff, which now is pretty much just TCU, given the way it seems like the committee views this conference. This is the Big 1-2 on 365 Sports, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to the Big 1-2 here on 365 Sports. Paul, Catalina, Royden, Ogletree, and Royden. TCU's undefeated right now.
Yep.
And the way their offense is playing, they got Kansas State this week. I mean, tough defensive struggle for them. I don't know if Kansas State can score with them, but I've been wrong before on Kansas State. See Oklahoma.
TCU's defense is a
It's
little bit better, but not
yeah.
not that. They're not world beaters by any
No,
means.
and they're a team that's built around their offense.
Right.
They are. They make plays when they have to. Travius Hodges-Tomlinson is a really good player. They've got other really good players, but they're not built on their defense like Baylor was a year ago or Oklahoma State was a year ago. They're built on their offense.
Right.
Because that's what Sonny Dykes is. He's an offensive coach. But I wonder about the overall view of this league, which is good. It's a really good league. The Big 12 and the Pac-12 have the same problem. They have a lot of teams that are good, but they're going to beat up on each other and ultimately knock themselves out of the playoff.
They have no truly generationally like great teams. It's going to
No, and they have a problem in that, the committee seemingly wants to see, as much SEC and Big Ten spice in this 4 teams as they can get every year. And the Big Ten is now just getting to the point where they can throw a second team in there reasonably if Ohio State and Michigan are both undefeated at the end of the year when they play each other.
right.
They could have the same scenario as Tennessee and Georgia would right now, or Alabama does every single year when they get a mulligan for losing in the middle of the year.
Hey, that is the biggest thing. Lose in the middle of the year, that doesn't matter.
For Alabama, it doesn't. For most everybody else, it does.
For Oklahoma State, it definitely will.
For Oklahoma State can go on a just tear ass through the rest of the league. But you lost in the middle of the year to a team that you might have to beat a second time,
Right.
Play a second time and win. And it doesn't negate it, right? Because that's how these things are these biases are built in. But the problem the Big 12 and the Pac-12 have, we'll keep it to the Big 12 for this, is Clemson just came through their toughest 3-game stretch undefeated. Now they have to play an undefeated Syracuse team this week, which I think they will dispatch.
Oh, no, undefeated Syracuse.
But once they do that, their schedule is done with teams that are scary.
Yeah.
And Syracuse, I'm not saying is scary, but they're undefeated.
They've been playing well. I ho-hum that, but it's like you look at Syracuse and
Syracuse's toughest stretch is right now. Starts now and goes. It should have started last week, but Devin Leary's not there for NC State, and they lost that game. Clemson goes undefeated. They're getting in. Like they're a classical power. So, I mean, anybody goes undefeated in the Power 5, they're getting in. So Clemson right now is darting towards not losing. Because I don't see, they're not classic Clemson, but they're not far off.
Right. The only way that a Big 12 team gets in is if TCU goes undefeated.
Yeah, that's it.
At this point. Granted, we always get to the end of the year, and lo and behold, somebody has, will blow somebody's doors off in a championship game in Oklahoma State or whoever. Texas, even at this point, could get there and just, Texas has 2 losses. I don't think they would be in regardless, but we always get to the point that where a 1-loss team, take Ohio State several years ago, will just absolutely kick someone's teeth in. And then that is front and center to the committee, who has recency bias galore. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of will propel different teams in different directions. That could very well happen. I just feel the only way that a for sure lock would be TCU going undefeated.
Now, if Texas runs the table all the way out, they will get the Alabama mulligan, and they could be in there with 2 losses.
That would be
in the CFP.
Yes, I will say it, because
you want to see people lose their collective mind.
But Texas and Alabama, Alabama's been able to wear their amulet all the time. Texas has the amulet in the closet that they can wear it because they can have a mulligan too.
Break in case of emergency
they
amulet.
But they have not been able to, legally open the door. But if they run the table out, they already have their mulligan. And people will forget about Tech when it comes to Texas. They'll forget about it.
They might forget about it, but there's at least 4 teams that, with 1 loss, there's plenty of money that they can bring to the table. They are traditional powers. There's no incentive to put a 2-loss Texas team in a CFP when you've got Alabama with 1 loss, undefeated Georgia, undefeated Clemson, undefeated Ohio State and Michigan. There's too many teams that are traditional powers ahead of Texas right now.
Yeah. I believe that, but there's part of me.
The cynic in you is watch and find out. Yeah.
Nobody, if Clemson goes on a 5-year drought of not being anything, and then all of a sudden they go up, nobody's going to be dancing the street that, oh, God, Clemson's back. Thank God. Thank God that our long nightmare of Clemson not being is over. But every time Texas shows a little bit of juice, the world outside of this state and Austin, Texas, loses its mind about it. Just let them get there, man. Just let them get there.
You need to frame that quote and send it to Austin.
Just let him get there?
Just let him get there. You've been saying that. You've been preaching that for
Do you know who
weeks.
agrees with me? Most of the people in Austin. Most of them do. The reasonable people that wear burnt orange are just can you just let us get there? We want it, but just let us get there. But the rest of the world's no, you have to be good.
In this, the Big 12 is a microcosm of sort of why you need that playoff expansion. If not for money, just that several really good teams. Now, I don't think that Oklahoma State, TCU, they're not on the level of, we've talked about this ad nauseum. They're not on the level of Georgia, Ohio State, even Alabama, even though they've looked shaky. And we haven't even talked about Tennessee, though, too, in all of this.
Yeah.
Even though they're not that great, they will cause havoc. And this whole industry, what we're doing here is all based on chaos. That is what college football sells itself on. NFL sells itself on steadiness, the best product that we can possibly put on the field. NCAA football, for my entire life, is you want to see something funny happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, this kicker just kicked it into the back of somebody's head. You want to see somebody light a field on fire? You want to see some people tear down the goalposts? That is what college football is based on. And the only thing that will continue to make that happen is if you let folks in Austin, Texas get their shot. You know what I mean? So that is my argument for why you should expand it. Now, granted, this year, this a mute point. It's not even going to happen. But they do have a problem as currently situated for the Big 12, Pac-12, and quite frankly, the ACC outside of Clemson.
If Clemson loses, the ACC can
shut out again. Yeah,
they're done. But I just don't see that happening. Now, that could. They could brain lock and fall to somebody that they shouldn't lose to. It's happened to them in the past.
They haven't looked like world beaters either. They have wanted to lose a couple of these games.
They have not looked like world beaters, but I'll tell you, they do enough of the little things well to where, they they would get maybe in the first round of the playoffs and play against Ohio State and get throttled.
They feel like Oklahoma of years past.
But
I've got a question. An undefeated TCU team or an undefeated Clemson team, which one gets that 4th spot?
Clemson.
What about an undefeated Syracuse?
What?
TCU.
TCU, yeah. That threw me for a loop. I didn't even think about that would even be a thing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to paint scenarios for you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sports do enough of the Big J journalists have enough of the juice to get to sway Syracuse into
Jim
into
Brown,
the playoff.
man.
But look,
Jim Brown.
I do think that Alabama is going to lose again. They do too many things bad, like that don't normally happen to Nick Saban teams. And Ole Miss is really good. I don't think they're going undefeated.
Mississippi State
can score a lot, although Kentucky shut their running game down the other day, where they just stopped doing it. It was just like Leach was like, "Yeah, no, let's not do it. That's it. That's it."
I mean, he's Mike Leach throwing the football. What are we talking about?
But he runs the football a lot. He does. And, that's part of it is that, he gets you so off balance with quick pass, pass, that he'll run the ball 7 plays in a row, and you're like, wait, did he just do that? That's how it works there. All right, when we come back, we make our picks, and we preview this week, not necessarily in that order. This is the big one, too, brought to you by Shorty's Pizza Shack on 365 Sports.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
I'm going to give you a little inside baseball here on the big one, too. I have a very, very minor, 2 nights of taking NyQuil, kind of a sinus thing going on here. It's not bad. I feel fine, but my throat is really scratchy, and I've been talking for 4+ hours now, going back to the other show. So this show is a little bit shorter than the others because the old moneymaker needs a break.
Those golden pipes of yours.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, I know that most people would look and go, well, this is clearly the moneymaker. But, it is what it is.
My grandfather, when I told him that I was going to go into broadcasting, this is a joke as old as time, he always said, which instills a lot of confidence in a young man, well, you got a face for radio, right?
Yeah.
Well, and what you should
and a voice for newspaper.
What you should have told him is, well, I am part your DNA, so.
Yeah, geez, thanks.
This is all your fault.
No, that's
whatever chromosomes I got from you, this is your fault. All right, let's go through the games this week. We'll make our picks.
The big one, too, sponsored by NyQuil.
Yeah, it could be this week. But again, and it's just so I'm not even sick. Like, it's just a thing.
That's why we have this distance between us. Normally, I'd be like right there.
I'm convinced it's because I didn't have hot water in the house for a week because we had to have our gas line replaced. And I took like 9 cold showers.
Supposed to help you, right?
I have no idea. I haven't practiced medicine in like 5 years now.
Yeah.
I thought that was supposed to be the whole thing is the cold showers to start your day, get you moving.
No, I'll tell you. It moved me underneath a blanket right after so I could get my core temp back up.
Right.
Because you're like walking around the house. I'm like, why are my feet still freezing? It's ridiculous. So that's repaired now, and I'm all better. But this thing has slowed us down to where we've had to condense today because I'm a tad raspy. Although maybe I could be like sultry with this kind of rasp going on, like a Sam Elliott kind of a thing.
You get the George Clooney going on.
Yeah. But, yeah, if I could get like a Sam Elliott, like.
Start selling Coors and trucks and, yeah.
Beef, it's what's for dinner. I can't do a good Sam Elliott.
Beer.
Yeah, I can't really do a good Sam Elliott.
No one can. Can you grow the mustache?
I mean, I could try. I don't know if Amanda would.
It's going okay.
Yeah, I'll do Roadhouse. Yeah. Sam Elliott. All right,
put your hair.
All right, mijo.
Start putting your hair back in a ponytail.
Yeah. These guys are so dumb, it's got a sign over the urinal says, don't eat the big white mint.
Let's do some picks.
A great line from that movie that will live in infamy. All right. First off, Baylor's got homecoming this week against Kansas. When they put Kansas as the homecoming game, I'm sure they thought it was going to be a lot easier. This is not going to be an easy game, even if Jason Bean plays.
Right.
Baylor's reeling a little bit. 2 losses in a row. I think that Kansas's defense is too much of a problem on the road. Baylor's a pretty large favorite in this game right now.
8-point favorite going as we record this show, which I couldn't believe, actually.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. But I am leaning towards that Baylor gets back on track. Even if Kyron Drones is the starting quarterback, I think I saw enough from him last week to where if he has a whole week to prepare knowing he's going to be the guy, then they'll be fine. But I think that Kansas would cover any spread. So I am picking Baylor because I'm leaning with the wise guys right now. But I don't feel great about it.
No, I say this a lot. I wouldn't bet on this game with your money. 8 points is tough. Yeah, I wouldn't. If it said like Baylor, we don't necessarily do those kind of picks on this show. But if it said Baylor like -4 or something, I'd cut that in half. I would feel a little bit better. Still no word yet on if Blake Shapen will actually play. The problem with that is he's been playing really, really well. Underrated. He's been playing very well since Iowa State. He's been hit a lot, though. I would assume because he was trying to get back up and he was walking around. Now that doesn't always spell great for concussions. Like we've seen people kind of walking around like the, lights are on but nobody's home sort of thing. But like he looked like he was trying to get up from that hit. I don't have any information on this. I would kind of be shocked if he doesn't play. But then again, we're seeing people being ultra cautious as they should with concussions.
I also think this. So I don't, Jacob, I don't know if you heard me say this to Smokey during a break today, but Dave Aranda's very person over player, right? That's the whole thing. That is not just something he can put on a t-shirt and sell. It's very much his philosophy. And I think if you go back over the last 3 years, if you look at the guys who have concussions, I don't know this to be true. I have not fact-checked it, but I don't think he really lets them play the week after.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think he does. I think he's a little more strict with it. Because, again, if you're about in this new world of person over player, which has not always been the case in college football, and not often
hasn't been the case with Baylor.
In sport, yeah, where it's, the player is more important than, it hasn't been the case. If that's true, then leaning into the new concussion protocols is something you do.
Yeah.
And so, look, and they've had a ton of guys with concussions this year already. and none of them have played the next week.
Well, Tay McWilliams still hasn't come back,
Exactly.
and that's probably deeper than what we actually has been reported for him as far as concussions that we've actually seen.
Yeah.
But like and like I was saying, it's not the first hit he's taken this year where it looked like he was a little wobbly, but this one was absolutely a concussion. You could see it from a mile away.
Yeah, there's been too many similarities to Charlie Brewer that I've seen, and that is an unfortunate one that we've noticed. But I've got a question for you guys about Baylor's quarterback situation. If Kyron Drones comes out, plays the game of his life, perfectly executed offensive game plan, they win convincingly, is there a controversy?
No. I don't think so, because I think Shapen won the job for a reason back when he did. And Kyron still has to come along. Shapen's really good. I think that he concerns me because, again, he's not a big guy. You know, I've covered the Cowboys for years. And when I was covering Tony Romo, the first thing I noticed about Tony Romo is not very big. And so, like, you saw, like, every hit hits Tony Romo a little different than it does. And I'll tell you, when you see, like, a guy like Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, they're huge.
Yeah, 6 foot. That's the reason they had the Josh Allen prototype.
Yeah.
That's why he was drafted. Not that he blew the world away, but he was
just a few inches taller than me.
Yeah. Like the reason Jalen Hurts has staying power as a running quarterback is the dude is ripped. I mean, just ripped. And Tony Romo, if I never knew that he was the Cowboys quarterback, and you had put him in a room with 10 other guys built like him and said, pick out
who is this insurance salesman?
Pro Bowl quarterback, I would have been like, I don't know, that guy? Oh, missed it. And it would have taken me a second to get to him. And Blake Shapen's a little bit like that, where, you know, look, he's in great shape, but he's not a big guy. So hits maybe hit a little bit different. And he can't do anything about that. You know, some guys are built like Robert Griffin wasn't a big guy.
No.
Every hit different when you're like that.
Well, yeah, and this one was unfortunate, but yeah, it feels like the Charlie Brewer thing where it's like just get down quicker, sort of thing. Like that's tough to watch, but yeah, even still, he's taken some hits on slides before where it's like hitting the shoulder. He's kind of he obviously broke was it his shoulder or his arm?
Yeah,
I can't remember. But he's taken those hits before, so it is troubling. Kyron Drones, I think, is mega talented. Obviously, we saw that, and he does things that I think could eventually make this offense a little bit more dynamic than what Charlie Brewer is able to bring, a la
Blake Shapen.
Charlie Brewer. It's just they look incredibly. It's uncanny how much they look the same. But he could bring some things in the future that make this offense go a little bit more. His running is in particular. But I think he still has a lot more growing to do, whereas Shapen has shown that he's been able to make those progressions already this season. So we'll see. And, you know, who knows how good people are coming off of injuries anyway.
My concern for Shapen is the two best games of his life, the Big 12 championship game and this game last week. He got hurt in the middle of them.
Yeah.
You know, so, and he toughed out that Big 12 championship game with that whatever's going on in his shoulder. But they didn't really throw the ball after that. And
on the other side of the ball, Jalen Daniels, I just have to believe that was the initial reporting on that probably accurate, and then they came out and said, no, actually, I haven't been told this, and they just wanted to refute it and play, because it feels like it seems like an injury that would be like 4 or 5 weeks sort of thing, a la what happened, not that Ewers, but Quinn Ewers. Yeah. So
yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I know Matt Tate really, really well that, covers Kansas like a blanket out there. And his tweet was like, they hadn't verified it. The guy who tweeted it was a freelancer for them. So yeah, we'll see.
I just don't think he plays this week. I'm leaning towards no as well, but I don't think he's out for the season, but I don't think he plays this week. Right. And they need him. They need that, I think, to continue Kansas. Like I said, we weren't picking against you until the wheels came off. Wheels have kind of come off a little bit. Like they need that calming force of Jalen Daniels not always making the big play, kind of taking what he's given, not turning the ball over is a big thing too.
Especially given next week is their bye.
Yeah.
So they have a bye coming up. They got a bye next week, and then they can get back at it. So next up, West Virginia at Tech. West Virginia can score, so can Tech. I don't think this is going to be a game that's light on points, but this game is in Lubbock. I think Joey McGuire bounces back from a disappointing loss to Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State did it like couple weeks in a row. Like almost lost to Tech, almost lost to Baylor, and then lost to TCU. Yeah. So I do think Tech gets this one. But West Virginia fans, I wouldn't be as down on everything as it is. I'm picking the Red Raiders. I think
wreck them.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah, I have nothing more to completely add to that. I just think Baylor should have been able to take that game. They have done a bad job of taking those games. I think maybe if the situation was flipped, it wasn't in the house of horrors that is West Virginia for Baylor, that it would have been maybe not particularly close. Like even people in West Virginia were telling us that it wasn't going to be. Yeah. But the home juice added a little bit to that. No place else like Jones AT&T does the home juice get added. So I think Texas Tech, coming off a bye, they want to continue to try and build on what has been a good season, a surprising first season under the human Energizer Bunny, Joey McGuire. So I think that they have enough juice at home and enough crowd backing to stop West Virginia on some of those plays that Baylor didn't.
Yeah. By the way, West Virginia fans, if you do venture all the way out to Lubbock, Texas.
Oh, goodness.
If you see a tortilla flying through the air, don't grab it and eat it. It's not a free snack. You don't know where it's been. You have no idea.
In Lubbock?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not eating anything in Lubbock that I haven't watched to get prepared with my own two eyes.
Yeah, there you go.
Only hibachi for you in Lubbock.
I actually just bought a griddle, so I'm going to be doing that in my backyard quite soon.
Oh, nice. Texas at Oklahoma State. Royden, you and I differ on this pick.
Yeah.
I differ on it because I think that Spencer Sanders is not going to play. I think Texas is looking pretty good. I think they go up to Stillwater, a very tough place to play and win this game. Pokes look a little shaky to me. Take that second loss, but that doesn't mean they're out of this thing. But I think Texas gets this one.
I'll be honest, I made this pick very quickly when I didn't know that Spencer Sanders may not be playing. So results may vary on this pick. Very, very sorry to our friends in Austin.
It's set in stone. You can't change it.
I absolutely cannot change it.
The rule is graphics are sacrosanct.
Yes.
And the reason they are is that I thought I picked Alabama this week in our national picks, but I picked Tennessee.
And you won.
And I won.
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah. So, brother? Spencer Sanders, please play so I don't look like an idiot. But we're rolling with it. So if Spencer Sanders doesn't play, new quarterback coming in, trying to prove his worth. Spencer Sanders has been there for 18 years. He's coming in the biggest game of his life to beat a ranked Texas team at home in front of a juice crowd. Whoever that is, I don't know your name, but he's going to go off. And so that will lead Oklahoma State, coming off a terrible loss to TCU. That will lead them to victory. The backup quarterback always gets the juice. That's what I'm saying.
All right. And now
Cooper Rush style.
Okay. Now, coming off of two just fantastic wins in a row.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're undefeated, but the last two games for them were classics. I mean, they drummed Oklahoma, and that was a great game. But to come off of two heart-pounding games like they played, Kansas and Oklahoma State, TCU at home again, hosting Kansas State. Kansas State will slow TCU's offense down. But how much?
I was coin flip, to be completely honest, picking this game. Kansas State has surprised me all year, and it's tough picking against them when they've really shown that they really shouldn't be picked against.
Yeah.
Especially even against the spread. TCU is going off at only 3.5 point favorites in this one, and I think that's pretty accurate. Closer to 3 or 2 would have been probably better if you're a betting man. I wouldn't bet on this game. This seems like a trap game for TCU. But that being said, they have the better athletes out of all of this game. If they make it, whoever is able to establish their game first probably will win this game. But I think TCU has enough staying power with the athletes that they have on the field, and Max Duggan playing a really
and being at home, even though that's not the best home field advantage yet, because
there are Oklahoma State fans all over that stadium the other day.
TCU fans are still kind of,
oh wait, we're good.
Yeah, well, we need to actually go. Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to knock you, but it's just a fact. Like, that stadium sits half empty a lot of the time, even in some good years. They should get out there and go see them now, because this is a really fun team to watch.
This is the best one of the better matchups of the weekend, if not probably the best matchup of the weekend for like throughout college football.
Yeah.
Kansas State coming off of a bye, so they'll rest Adrian Martinez and Breece Hall, Deuce Vaughn's legs a little bit, because that's their entire offense, and they've been carrying them on their back. So oh man, this one could be ugly. I got to go with TCU right now, but I don't believe in that. I'm telling you right now, I don't believe in this pick.
It's on the graphic, so
it's on the graphic.
I'm going Horned Frogs at home. I think that
I got a question for you guys. What is the likelihood of this being the first of 2 times that these 2 teams play this year?
Ooh.
Well, if see, I right now I'm leaning towards TCU and Texas playing twice, but I would say TCU and Texas playing twice, TCU and Kansas State playing twice right now, and then TCU and Oklahoma State playing twice right now.
I just think it's worth asking, because when people talk about Kansas State, they have good things to say, but it's just Adrian Martinez, Deuce Vaughn, and then they move on to a different team. But this Kansas State, they could beat anyone, and so I just wanted to gauge.
I wish I knew more players on their defense. It just feels like one cohesive unit that I can't like pinpoint anybody.
Just one
player. It's just all one Wildcat.
One guy who splits himself 11 ways. And does that. No, I get it. But no, they're good, and they very much have the personality of Chris Kleiman, their coach, and you know, I would put it at better than 40%, if that gives you like a number. Yeah.
I think that's pretty accurate. I'm leaning more now towards what Paul was saying of like you kind of down on Oklahoma State, especially as Spencer Sanders is injured for a amount of time.
If you have a couple weeks where he's not going to be there, it's just
it might fall apart.
You don't get a freebie in this lab. We're saying it every week. There are no freebies in this league, and if your starting quarterback is out, you know that's where I got to go. All right. Carl Page says Felix Uduke Uzama.
I'm going to remember it.
Thank you, Carl.
They also had a middle linebacker that I looked the other day, had like 25 tackles in a game.
All right, that's going to do it for us, because I don't know.
Cincinnati, SMU.
We got one more game.
One more game. Sorry. We're always going to pick an incomer every week, and Cincinnati, SMU. Cincinnati's kind of getting on a roll right now. SMU has an offense and they can score with Tanner Mordecai, but I do think that ultimately this is Bearcats all the way here, and Cincinnati wins this one.
Yeah, after that, it kind of, because of the noise that they made last year and making it into the college football playoffs, you know, after they came in and they lost that first game, anyone outside of Cincinnati was like, okay, whatever. All right, good. We got that one. We got that one out of the way. We don't have to hear about the scrappy Cincinnati Bearcats. And all of a sudden they're 5-1, number 21 in the country. SMU has looked up and down, as where TCU has absolutely, I've never seen a kind of a regime change that has gone as well this early as with TCU.
Well, TCU had talent.
Yeah, that's fair. Did. And I think SMU probably lost a lot of when Dykes left, because he was kind of the glue that held it all together. Obviously, the head coach, but like, I just kind of had a lot more faith in Tanner Mordecai because we've watched him all these years, and he's been good. Like, he makes the throws, but he's also been a little turnover prone, and that just isn't clicking the same way as it was.
I'll tell you who's regretting not recruiting Tanner Mordecai.
Baylor?
Texas A&M.
Oh, right now,
I can tell you right now. So Tanner Mordecai grew up a big Aggie fan, right? And then Lincoln Riley discovers him at Oklahoma. Well, are you going to, that was right at the end of Sumlin and the beginning of Jimbo. So who are you going to listen to? Kevin Sumlin, who's on his way out the door, or Lincoln Riley? Kevin Sumlin didn't even come. Look at him. I don't even know if Kevin Sumlin knew where Waco was. I had no idea. I mean, no. He didn't.
Could have taken his helicopter over here.
Yeah. Baylor was in on Tanner. He just, I think, wanted to go
Yeah, not 2 miles down the road,
I
literally.
just think he just like he's the kind of a guy that wanted to go somewhere different. And
Do you guys think he's playing on Sundays?
I think he'll get a shot. I think he's got a shot at playing in a professional football league. I don't know about.
I mean, look, Shane Buechele had a long career, like as a backup in the NFL, and so did
Garrett Gilbert.
Garrett Gilbert, still in the NFL. I
So
believe.
Shane, I think so.
Yeah. So yes, I think he definitely has more talent. As much talent as those guys, more so than Shane. Garrett Gilbert was like a 5-star recruit back in the day, if you remember. But that run that he broke off the other day was insane. Didn't know he had the legs like that, but
I did.
Yeah.
I was there. I saw them all. So
but all that to say, we're talking about a local product here in Waco. All that to say, I don't think his talent is enough to beat Cincinnati, who looks not as good as last year. They had some problems with South Florida this past game, but far and away the best team in the American.
But, by the way, Miguel Ramirez says UCF dropping 71 on ECU this weekend. That's almost the game I picked, but then I thought that could happen the way that John Rice Plumlee's playing lately.
So is it up? It's UCF versus Cincinnati probably for the incoming Big 12 champion, right?
Yeah. So there we go. All right, that's going to do it for us. For Jacob Wilson, for Roy Ogletree, for Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Just do yourself a favor and go there when you're in town. Just do it.
Yeah.
Take my word for it. I have many people that will tell you I don't give bad restaurant recommendations. I don't do it.
Never once in your entire life?
Yeah. Like, I might tell you to go see a movie you don't like because I liked it. Like, people have different tastes, but I'm never going to send you to a place you say, Paul, that was terrible. Shorty's Pizza Shack is one of my favorite places. It's got a great vibe. You've hung out there a lot. You went to Baylor, so it was It was an important place in your development as a human being.
Oh, have I?
Same with you.
I've physically been there many, many, many times, but mentally, I don't know.
But Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby, thank you, as always, to them for their sponsorship. Thanks to all of you for watching whenever you do, whether it's live or later on. This is the Big 1-2 on 365 Sports. See you next week, everybody.